what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through. Times don't fly too high. Be sure to keep the ground in sight. Fly forever if you keep it tight. Love the world but keep the sky on your mind.
Maggots, because there isn't many well, there didn't used to be many silvers in here, so it's one of those sort of venues you can attack by potting in maggots quite aggressively. It's got a silty bottom, so you can't really overfeed it. You know, those maggots crawl away in the silt, you get big fish come along grubbing along, and then they grub into the silt. A maggot pops up in front of their nose, and I think it keeps them in the peg a bit longer. So I do like live maggots on sort of venues where you haven't got that many silvers. So I bought 4 pints of maggots. So you've probably seen at the start, I fed, went out with a 250ml pot at 13 metres. And I fed about 150ml of mainly white maggots. And then I've chucked the feeder, as you've seen. Not something I do often, so I apologise to the casting or anything if you see a few casts go away, but I'll be honest, I actually chucked about 2 metres to the right of where I'm chucking first of all. I've had 3 chucks there and snaggy, so there's lesson number 1. Check the area you're throwing. You know, I should have dragged that feeder around or led a little bit more before to check that, and I didn't. So a few people caught 1 fish, and one person had 2 fish, so I thought, right, I've got to resort this. So I went about 2 metres more to the left, and re-clipped up, got the distance, re-clipped up, and found a better area. And we've had a fish, and as you can see, we're into another one. So, which is nice, you know, like I say, not catching carp for 6 months is always nice to catch a few carp in it. They're pulling well as well. I didn't expect them to be quite as feisty as they are, but that's Todber fish for you, very fit fish. I'm fishing for the feeder. I'm not fishing a method. I'm actually fishing a hybrid. Fishing a little guru hybrid as well, to be honest, because I like the guru ones. I'm using a 24 gram one. They don't take much feed, do they? You just push a little bit of micro pellet and a few dampen 4s in it. I've got a dampen 4 in the micro band, and you can load it easy and quicker than what you can in method. Also, it's one of those where I'm not fishing the method a lot this match. It's just to start with. As you can see now, I'm on the pole, so I'm really trying to sort out this pole line and how to feed it. The method is just something to start on whilst I'm feeding the pole, and something to drop back on when I want to rest the pole line or have a bit of thinking time, etc. So that 24 gram method, I think I caught 3 fish on it originally before trying the pole. Not massive fish, sort of 3 pound mark, 3 to 4 pound, but really good weight builders. And as you can see already, I've gone over that maggot, and I'm not messing about on that maggot line. I've got a size 1 Tubertini 175 hook on that. I've got a treble maggot on that, and these roach are snaffling it. I did find out when I went for breakfast this morning that a few silvers have been put into the venue, which I didn't realise, which is great for anglers coming down there and everything. There's no complaints on it, but I didn't realise. So I bought this maggot thinking maggot was going to be okay, but it was being snaffled by these roach, chunky little roach, but nonetheless I wasn't expecting them. And Aid West told me that as he was serving me breakfast. It is very nice breakfast too. So we're just realising the extent of these silvers now. We're just having a look at this and realising there's quite a few more in there than I'd assumed, really. Which goes to show preconceived idea is never the best. Still thinking I can feed them off though by dumping maggots, 100, 150 mil a time, and catch a carp or 2. It's still early in the match, so I'm keeping my eyes open around me as always, and no one's setting the rod alight at all, as I say, and we're just trying to get this pole line to work. We're only fishing 13 metres because in the back of my mind I was always going to fish 14.5, so I want to know what's happening and how to feed it at 13 before I go that bit longer to 14.5. By the time we get to 14.5, we really want to have a game plan in place. I've got one on the maggots now. Because it's a little bit breezy, fishing 13 metres, planning on fishing 14.5, possibly longer if it need be, but with the wind it'll probably be 14.5 or just over, maybe the dolly put on as well if it's needed, but we're really trying to set that game plan before we go that sort of distance. So due to the wind and everything else, I'm fishing fairly light elastic because you're hitting them, the wind could catch the pole, you don't want to be pulling hooks out, etc. So that's white hydro. Been using white hydro for 20 odd years, and I know it's expensive, but it's one elastic throughout the winter and spring I can never seem to get away from for fishing carp. It's just lovely. The heavier sort of stuff and some other elastics I use now for carp fishing, I've actually gone away from hollows, and that's only happened recently. I always liked me hollow elastic fishing. I love the stuff, it's so smooth. But now these hybrids have come out, there's a lot of different makes of course, but I use a fairly local chap's, Dave Wilmot's now, and well, I won't say the price it is because it just puts all other elastics to shame. It is so cheap. So quite the contrast really. I use white hydro, which is as you know quite expensive, and then Dave Wilmot's, you buy it in 10 metre lengths, which is brilliant. I mean, my top kits are only 2 metres, so I do 5 top kits with one lot of elastics. So you'll have to look it up. I think he's on Facebook and that. But Dave Wilmot, now it's good stuff. I'm going to do a video soon of elasticating a puller kit, and I'll probably be using this elastic when I put it in. So we've had one on that. And again, as you can see, we've gone back to roach. I mean, I've cut a bit of this out, obviously, and we'd probably have another pound of roach or so. So I've just topped it up with about 120 mil of maggots again, and just going to chuck the feeder just to give it a little bit of a rest. So I just flirt in between those two lines really. But the feeder's just a filler, isn't it? You know, I'm really trying to sort that pole line out, but at the moment, it's not looking fantastic. But no one else really catching, as I say, so just head down, just plod along. This feeder, you can see it's a bit awkward to chuck. I can't actually put the rod over my head too far because you can probably see up in the top left hand corner some branches from a tree. There is a tree sort of just slightly to my left and behind me, so I've got to be a little bit careful when I'm chucking. But I'm starting to wonder now whether this maggot is really going to come good. I mean, I had that one fish, thought, oh lovely, they pushed the roach out, and but that was it, one fish. So we'll plod away on this feeder in between, try and nab one on that, then back on the pole, etc., and see if we can get it to work. And if we can't, then we'll have to look for another game plan. I did luckily scrounge a tin of meat off of AD West when he made me that lovely breakfast at his house. Cheers, mate. I did scrounge a tin off of him when he told me about these silvers going in. I thought, oh, you know, I might need that. But I have got a few pellets on me as well. I've got a sort of pint of 4 mil coppins. I love little 4 mil coppins, fishing those this time of year. So I might have to change the hook length on the pole rig. I'll just use the same rig, just change the hook length. It's a 4-inch hook length with the pellet there, whereas I'm using 6-inch on the maggot, so I'll just replumb it. I haven't kept the line too short to not be able to do that. And we can plumb that up and see if we can catch on the pellets if we need to. The plan was always to fish the maggots on the short line as well. I found the bottom of the slope where it's sort of 4.5 foot, and just brought the rig up about 6 inches up from the bottom of the slope, because you can get a few bits of rubbish and that, bits of snags right at the bottom of the slope really. So I just come up, found the bottom of the slope, and I came up on there. We've got one on the feeder, which is not surprising. Every time we seem to rest it and have one chuck, just the one chuck, we get one. Jason to my right has been constantly fishing it, and he's stopped catching altogether. So it seems to me that you chuck it in the once, you get one, and then that's it. I mean, I do have a second chuck, but it doesn't ever seem to go around that second time. Just using a little 9-foot rod on this. It's actually a free spirit rod. Brilliant little rods, to be honest. Fantastic rod. Getting them in a little bit quicker now as well. I forgot how to play carp, to be honest. It's been so long. So back on the maggot, as you can see, and on the pole, I should say, over the maggot. And we've put the dolly bit on now, so we've actually gone past where we've been feeding. Even though a lot of those maggots, I'm feeding live maggots, so there ain't no dead maggots going in, it's just pure live maggots. I took all the maize off of them, and it's just live maggots gone in. A lot of them crawl off into the silt and that. Now we've got one just off the back of the feed. But a lot of them crawl off, as I say, into the silt and things, small fish eat them as well, of course. So They do out there over a silty bottom sort of disappear, if you like. But I do like live maggots dumping them this sort of time of year, because I always think those live maggots go into that silt, big fish come along, they root around, a maggot actually pops up out of the silt in front of him, and it keeps them grubbing around in the peg for longer, really. Can't beat that white hydro. So that was the last fish we had on the maggot. I've cut out a fair bit of the match time now. I probably stuck with it for another 30 minutes. Between that and having a chuck or two on the feeder, and it just hasn't happened, to be honest. Steve on my left, he was fishing pellets, not that long, not that far out either, probably 11, maybe 13 metres out, and I noticed he had, I reckon, 4 fish on the pellets to my 1 on the maggot. So that was it then, my mind was made up. Those 4 mils were going out, and as you can see, I just cab potted a few in. I did cab pot some in earlier, I must say. That isn't that I haven't gone straight out and caught one. I cab potted a few, had a chuck on the feeder, then I've gone back out, cab potted it in another 6 to 8 pellets. Not many at all, and one in the band, and we've got one on. So all I've changed there really is the hook length. So we're now fishing with still 014 hook length, but I'm fishing with a 20 hook, because these carp, and there's a lot of crassios in there, sort of 2.5 pound, good weight building fish. They're quite fly, and the weight of that pellet, that 4mm pellet, if you fish too big or too heavy a hook, especially this time of year, your bites will be minuscule, and that's it. They'll reject that bait so fast. So I'm just fishing a 20. I'm fishing one of those Guru LWGs, the PTFE ones. I think they're brilliant, especially with such soft elastic. I don't pull out nothing on the 20. I can give the fish a fair bit of stick as well, and yeah, never have a problem with them. So that's 014 line and LWG 20, and a little microband. Tony Rickson from Bristol put me onto those microbands years ago. He's a terrific angler from Bristol, and he put me onto it. It was the Drennan Pure Latex bands, microbands, and you can put a 4mm in those. You can even put an 8mm in there. Yeah, they're really good, and they just never break. You know, sometimes you get those pellets are a little bit rough on the outside, and the longer the day goes on, the more pellets you push in there, it sort of wears the band away, and then before you know what happened, your band's broke. I mean, how many times do we change hook lengths, you know, because the band's broke? But with those, it just never happens. Superb. Got to thank Tony for those. Been using them years now, and he's just come along and have a little look, see what's going on. He's obviously not fishing today, and he still can't stay away from the bank, can he? He's mad, isn't he? He loves his fishing, as we all do. So again, even on that pellet line, still can't keep them coming constantly. Don't seem to be any runs of fish. It's like one fish, change, one fish. You know, so back on the tip, trying to nab one on that. Terrible concentration there, as usual, on the tip. I'm not the best at watching that method or a lead, I have to be honest. Nearly lost my rod then, I think. I think I needed to pick that rod up as heavy as I did either. Trying to show the carp who's boss there, I think. But yeah, we're ticking over. Catching one one on the tip and going back on the pole trying to catch one, and just alternating between those two, and just ticking along really, which is all you need to do in most carp matches on most commercials, to be honest, unless they're really, really prolific. That's all you need to do, because these matches are won and lost in the last hour. They're won and lost in the last hour on that short line and down the edge, etc. All you've got to do is make sure you catch something earlier. Just keep ticking over. Don't matter if you're not winning it at this stage. It don't matter. Just be nice and methodical. Find something that works. Try and catch on 2 lines if you can. And that seems to be working. I've probably ended up catching more on that tip than Jason did to my right, and he's fished it. He's quite good on the tip, and he's fished it nearly all the match really. And that's just because I've had the odd chuck and left it for 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes, and had that one chuck out there and just wait till it goes round. The same with the pole now. Like, I'm having to wait on the bites. I mean, I've cut quite a bit of time out, but those little 4mm pellets definitely right. So pick that up by watching Steve to my left, mind. So you've got to keep your eyes open around you and see what others are doing, and you've got to watch the good anglers as well and see what they're doing. That's key really. I've got Jack Stamp a couple of pegs to my right, but it isn't a good area. It narrows up there, the wind's all wrong for it, and he's caught very little, so I haven't really worried about watching him too much because he's just not on fish. But I've got Mark Harper 3 pegs to my left, a very good angler, so I'm keeping my eye on Mark, and he's the same really, just catching odd fish. And Steve on my left, he's catching a few on the pellets as well. Wasn't expecting the fish to pull this hard, I have to be honest. Really fit fish, Todber fish. Getting a run of fish now on a line, which is ideal really. Sort of running into the 4th hour of the match, so we're 3.5 hours into the match, so really nice time to get a little run of fish, all on the pellets, all down the same really, just cab potting those few pellets like we've been doing, fishing that little 4mm in the band, and we're getting a few fish, getting the odd Carasio as well in between, but as I said, they're nice weight builders, or 2.5 pounds a piece. The carp are still on the small side. There's plenty of these sort of stocky fish at Todber though. I mean, there's fish everywhere really, especially up on the main complex. But there are some big ones here in White Post, but I don't think at the moment they're showing. I haven't seen anybody catching anything that big, to be honest. I think Mark might have had a couple around £7, and that's the biggest I've seen. But there are doubles in here, but they're just not showing at the moment. Todber Manor itself, the actual complex, if you've not been there, but you've heard of it and so on, to give you an idea on the place, is rapidly becoming, well, it's got to be the best sort of commercial fishery we got in the West Country now, for sure. I mean, and that's down to John really investing in it, to be honest. I mean, your top football teams get to the top because of investment, don't they? I mean, good management as well, but investment, and it's the same with the fishery. I mean, John's just invested a massive amount of money and time in the fishery. He's got an awful lot of staff up there. I mean, you could go to Todber, I will say, you could go to Todber, having never fished before. You could buy all the kit you wanted in the shop, all the bait you wanted, go and have a shower, lovely toilets with radiators in them and everything as well. You could go and have some breakfast there. You've got a nice little breakfast in there. Go and have something to eat. Get all your kit. You could go to Pole Alley. You've got a pole alley there where you can look at all poles really, not just top of the range, but all poles. I've been over there myself recently, and you could go over there and just come away with a plethora of kit, everything you ever needed to match fish or do carp fishing or anything. You know, it's massive. And the lakes up on the complex, I mean, you've got Hillview, Ash, Home Ground. The weights are phenomenal. Even in the winter, absolutely amazing weights. In the summer over there, you need sort of £500-600. Just amazing fishery really, and testament to John's hard work and all the staff. Fair play to him. So we're just getting some funny little touches now. Just missed that one, as you've seen. A little bit of ripple, just making it that little bit more difficult. You've got to dimple that float right down the sea. So I think a lot of it, I don't think it's all the ones I miss are like liners. I think some of it is those crassios. They are sly little things. They'll suck that pellet and then blow it out so fast. I think they're worse than F1s, to be honest. So thinking about that short line still, that's coming into my head again. Thinking about that short line and what we're going to be doing on that. I've got a load of maggots with me. I'm still thinking I'm going to be dumping those maggots on the short line. But I'm going to dump them slightly at the shelf, and if it doesn't work, I can add a section and end up going out on the meat. I've got that 1 tin of meat I scrounged off 80. Thanks, Aid. So I can always go that little bit further with the meat and have a look. I have put a little ball of Tom Fix Edge mix down the edge to me right. I've got a little bit of room with some maggots, but I haven't seen anybody catch down the edges. I think that's a bit of a non-starter today. This match in particular is being fished from 10:30 to 3:30, and I think that's sort of things you have to take into consideration. Times a day. If we were fishing to 4:30, well, that's a different matter. But 3:30, I mean, the amount of pressure on the water, I don't see us catching down the edges at all. So another feisty Todber carp on. That was one of those crassios for a minute, but no, definitely a little carp. It's fighting hard. Lovely fit fish. Float I'm using out there is a 4x14 because and it's carbon stemmed. To looking at it now with the breeze sort of comes and goes, doesn't it? I mean, I can get away with carbon or metal, to be honest. I mean, a wire stem wouldn't have hurt, to be honest. Now I'm on pellets, but I don't mind using carbon either, really. But I'd probably, if I know I was fishing pellets to start, in 4.5 foot of water, I'd fished a lighter float. I have spread out those shot now. I had them bolt down with the maggot fishing, but now with the pellets, I've got them sort of strung out a bit. But I would have used a 4B12 really, and use some sort of strung out shot on that as well. And yeah, and you want your last shot right on top of the hook length as well, which is what I have done with pellets. You want some shot very close to the pellet to get any type of register, especially where those Carasio and that are concerned, as I say. Just flicking the rig past when we put in the pellets. Just tap a few pellets in. You can see how little's going in there now. Look, there the wind's gone, and then we just lift it, just draw that float back in over the pellets we just fed, and you try and keep that float out a little bit, just so those pellets settle in that 4.5 foot of water, and then sort of lower the float down in amongst them. So you're trying to lower that pellet at the same sort of time as the pellets you just fed. Not that we're getting bites that instantly really, but good practice to do that really with pellets. So into another fish. Turned out to be a nice day really. Catching a few, always nice. As I say, not been carp fishing for a long time, so yeah, really enjoying it. Thinking more and more about that short line now. Time looming in the match. Sort of just over an hour to go now, and yeah, thinking about it, I've actually potted some maggots in, quite a lot again, so 150mm. Just 6 inches up that shelf on that bit firmer bottom, so those maggots aren't getting away in the silt and things. It's a little bit firmer there, so they're just sort of, you know, spreading out there, and I'm just letting that rest, and we'll be having a look on that shortly. So we've had a little bit of a look on those maggots, and it didn't happen. I've had a little bit, might be a bit early. I'm thinking I've gone back long again on the pellets now, but that went very quiet. We had that nice little run of fish, but that went quiet. So went on that short line, had a look on the maggots, and no good at all. I think this is one of those nice plump, yeah it is, yeah, nice Carasio. So yeah, we looked on those maggots, no good. Got roached out again. Not really fast. You had to sit the float there a while, but when it went, it was a roach. So I've put some more maggots in it on that line, another 100mm maggots on top of that, and I'm hoping to sort of feed off the roach and pull those carp in. But meanwhile, we've just gone long again on that pellet and having a look on that. But few lessons learned today really. Earlier on that feeder line, chucking it in the wrong place, should have felt around, so that was definitely sort of the first 10 minutes of the match was wasted. That doesn't say nothing, but early in the match everybody caught 1 or 2 mugfish on that feeder. Okay, I did end up catching 3, but I sort of I threw away at least 1 fish there by not checking that thoroughly really. And then again my you know, stubbornness really of trying to make that maggot work again was no good. I actually tried the maggot line again, it didn't happen, so I stuck another section on. So I got my top kit, a short 4, and then 2 more sections, and I've cut in about 8 pieces of meat, gone on the long pole again, come back over those 8 pieces of meat, put 3 in the cab pot, 8mm meat that is, and 1 on the hook, and lo and behold we're into a carp, and I'm kicking myself a little bit on that really. But these are the things with carp fishing. I do think you have to adapt. I do think you mustn't be scared to change. I can't believe I went with those maggots short again, really, but there you are. But I love fishing meat, and yeah, I'm pleased. Once I've caught one on the meat, your confidence is there now, isn't it, catching another one. They don't want much, putting in very little, but yeah, we're catching 1 or 2 fish. Slightly bigger than on the pellet as well. Not massive, but better than those £3 fish we were getting. I'd say they're sort of closer around £5 now. Around £5 fish, yeah. And it's a 4B12 float, just strung out, 6-inch hook length, but stronger hook length now. We're fishing 016, and I'm a little bit old school. Me hook is a 16 B911. I absolutely love them for meat fishing. I've used them for meat fishing for the last 7-8 years, and yeah, they're not the extra strong ones, just the 16 911. Yeah, I really do love them. So yeah, as you've seen then, as soon as I hook that fish, it's getting down to the last sort of 15 minutes of the match now. As soon as I hook that fish, I actually threw some meat. Just saves a bit of time. I'm trying to, by throwing meat directly where you just hook the fish, you're not only making any fish that are spooked turn around when they hear the meat hit the water, which sometimes happens, they come straight back in, but you're trying to line up the next one before, well, whilst you're playing this one. Whilst you're playing and landing this one, there's no rush, but you've just primed and you're lining yourself up to get that next fish, and that's all important, especially as the weather gets warmer. I mean, I love the meat on the short meat line, really. Tremendous pulling power the meat's got. Got 8mm, cut it at 8mm a day. I mean, this time of year normally I would have done 7s and such, but I'm glad I decided to do it on 8s because it was a fallback bait if the maggot didn't work. And if the maggot didn't work, it was probably due to being snaffled by roach and that. So I wanted to make sure that the meat wasn't as easy for them roach to sort of nibble down. So I made it 8mm, and it seems to be doing okay. So we're in the final throes of the match now. I'm looking around. I do think I'm ahead on this lake at the moment, or the people I can see. Not massive weights. It's not been a big weight match at all, but it's been very enjoyable. I've probably had half a dozen fish on the meat, around £5 a piece, which is sort of £30, and probably have £50 on that pellet and the feeder between the two lines, which is just ticking along, really, isn't it? £50 in 4 hours or so, and then £30 of slightly better fish on that short line. In hindsight, I wonder if I should have thrown that maggot in a little bit shorter by hand, and maybe in the last 10-15 minutes I might have caught a couple of big fish on that. But that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's all about making decisions and learning from them. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks ever so much for watching again, and speak soon.